This is the story of Raiku Kaizen, the last of the Kaizen bloodline. In a world where power is passed down through the blood, where it flows like an inherited curse, clans rule over territories with their blood-gifted abilities. But there are others who hunt these clans, eradicating their bloodlines one by one, wiping away their legacies from history. And this is how the world forgot the name Kaizen. When Raiku was 5 years old, his entire clan was wiped out. Their heads were chopped off and left as a warning to other clans who dared defy the empire. Raiku was the only survivor, survived hidden under the floorboards, while his parents died protecting him. He was taken in by an old exile, a man with gray hair and eyes that held the memory of 1,000 battles. The old man took Raiku in out of pity, but saw something special in the young boy. For the next 10 years, Raiku was trained in secret, away from everyone, learning how to fight and honing his skills until they became one. The exile was nearing his mortal end, so he decided to pass down everything he knew to Raiku. He taught him how to control his blood, how to use its power, and most importantly, how to be relentless. Now, here's the thing about the Kaizen bloodline. They carry within them the memories of every ancestor's final battle. This is both a blessing and a curse, something the old exile couldn't control. But in Raiku it was different. On the night the exile was going to pass on, Raiku sliced open his palm, letting blood flow onto the ancient scroll, activating the hidden memories within. And what happened next shocked him. He saw the death of his ancestors play out right before his eyes. He watched as generations of warriors fell in battle, losing their lives doing what they loved, fighting till the very end. And he learned from them. With each swing of their sword, he felt their pain, their anger, their sadness, and most importantly, their pride. He felt their burning desire to protect their family name. As the sun began to rise, the memories faded away, leaving Raiku shaken but determined. That's when he realized the true extent of his bloodline's gift. It's the ability to inherit the memories of their final battles. With great power comes great responsibility. And now that he was the last of the Kaizen bloodline, it was up to him to make sure that their legacy would live on. And so, when the letter summoning him to the arena arrived, Raiku didn't hesitate. He packed his things, made sure his weapons were sharp and ready, and set off on his journey to the capital. Hidden amongst the crowd, he watched as the previous matches took place, studying the other warriors, waiting for his turn, because unlike the others who entered the arena to survive, Raiku entered to be remembered. He wasn't driven by revenge, not anymore. He had no hatred towards those who had destroyed his clan, no desire for vengeance. All he wanted was to make the world fear the name Kaizen once again. The day finally came when his name was announced. The crowd roared as he stepped into the blinding light, revealing his scarred face and cold eyes. But underneath that stoic exterior, a storm was brewing, a storm that threatened to engulf anyone who stood in his way. From the moment he unsheathed his katana, a hush fell over the crowd. Its edge was razor-sharp, honed to perfection. And as he held it high, a glint of determination flashed in his eyes. His first opponent was a brute of a man with a thick beard and arms like tree trunks. Before the match began, the man sneered at Raiku, trying to intimidate him, but all it did was enrage him. Raiku moved like lightning, his blade flashing through the air. The man tried to block, but it was too late. The crowd gasped as Raiku disarmed him, sending his weapon flying across the arena. Then came the finishing move, a swift and precise strike that left the man slumped to the ground, defeated. As the crowd erupted into cheers, Raiku stood tall, his presence commanding respect and fear. One by one, he faced his opponents, each more formidable than the last. There was the agile assassin with blades hidden in his sleeves, the master swordsman with a cruel smile and eyes filled with bloodlust, the ruthless warrior with a giant battle axe. But none of them could withstand the power of the Kaizen bloodline. As the final battle approached, the cheers grew louder, the atmosphere thicker with anticipation. Standing before him was his last opponent, a towering figure with a crown of thorns on his head and a whip made of shadows in his hand. The man was radiating darkness, his eyes burning with a sinister light. The crowd was on its feet, their voices echoing through the arena. As the battle commenced, the two warriors clashed, their weapons ringing like a death knell. The dark warrior attacked with the speed of a viper, his whip lashing out, seeking to bind and suffocate. But Raiku was ready. With every move, he danced away from danger, his blades singing a song of defiance. The crowd watched in awe as the two warriors battled, their movements a blur of steel and shadow. Each strike from the Dark Warrior was met with a counterattack from Raiku, who fought with the precision of a master swordsman. The Dark Warrior snarled, his patience wearing thin. He unleashed a torrent of shadowy whips, each one carrying enough strength to break bone and shatter will. But Raiku stood firm, his body a fortress of honed muscle and unwavering determination. He parried and riposted, his blade leaving shallow gashes on the Dark Warrior's armor. The Dark Warrior, enraged by the disrespect, abandoned his whip and lunged for Raiku, his hands like talons reaching for his throat. The crowd gasped as the two grappled, their faces inches apart. Strength was tested against strength, willpower against willpower. But it was Raiku who emerged victorious. With a sudden surge of power, he threw the Dark Warrior off balance and sent him crashing to the ground. As the Dark Warrior lay stunned, Raiku pressed his attack. He lunged forward, his katana raised high, ready to deliver the final blow. The crowd was silent, holding their breath as the outcome of the battle hung in the balance. But then it happened. The Dark Warrior, with a last-ditch effort, rolled away, escaping the fatal strike by the slimmest of margins. The crowd erupted into a cacophony of cheers and jeers. Some praised Raiku's skill, while others rooted for the underdog, the Dark Warrior. But Raiku was unfazed. He sheathed his katana, his expression as impassive as stone. To him, the battle was far from over. With a warrior's grace, he bowed his head to the Dark Warrior, acknowledging his opponent's tenacity. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. He knew their paths would cross again, perhaps in the final battle. But for now, he had earned a moment's respite. As the sun set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the arena, Raiku stood alone, his silhouette etched against the dying light.
Ow.
The cheers of the crowd had faded away, leaving him in a world of his own. He closed his eyes, the memories of his ancestors surging through him, their spirits urging him forward. He could feel their strength coursing through his veins, a tangible force that pushed him to be better, to be stronger. The weight of his lineage, the legacy of the Kaizen bloodline, rested heavily on his shoulders. With each step he took, he carried the hopes and dreams of generations past. Their hopes to reclaim their honor, their blood, their legacy. As the darkness enveloped him, Raiku opened his eyes, his gaze fixed on the horizon. A new resolve had entered him, a quiet determination that spoke of battles yet to be won and legacies yet to be reclaimed. His journey had just begun. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, each one a test of his will, his skill, his very being.
Ow.
But Raiku was ready. He was the last of the Kaizen bloodline, the inheritor of their power, the bearer of their legacy. And he would make sure that their name would echo through the ages. He was the last of the Kaizen bloodline, and his legend was just beginning.